Okay, today we're going to look at finding multiples of 10%. For example, how do we find 20%, 30%, 40%? I'm going to miss out 50 because that's a special one. 60%, 70%, 80%, 90%, and you get the idea. Okay, so how do we work out those percentages? Well, all those are multiples of 10%. So basically we can use 10% to work out all of those. Now in the other video we looked at how we found 10%. Remember, 10% as a fraction when simplified equal to tenth. If you're going to find a tenth of something, tenth of something, then we divide by 10. So the same applies to 10% because 10% is the same as a tenth. So let's look at an example. We want to find 20% of 80. So a nice easy example to begin with. So the first step is to find 10% of 80. And how we do that? We do 80 divided by 10, working down the page, and 80 divided by 10 is 8. Okay. Now we have 10%, we can use that to work out 20%. Now what we have to realise is that 20%, and probably you already realised this, is basically two lots of 10%. So 10% plus 10%, you can think of it like that, or 2 times 10%. So once you realise this, we can use our answer for 10% to easily work out 20%. So if 20% is two lots of 10%, then 20% of 80 is 2 times our 10% figure, which was 8, which is of course 16. And that's basically how you do it. I'll do one more example. Let's look at 70%. So example 2, let's find 70% of 150. Okay, slightly bigger number this time, but a nice one because it ends in 0. Divisible by 10. So, first step, we find 10% of 150. Let's do that. That is 150 divided by 10, because 10% is a tenth, and to find a tenth we divide by 10, because we're splitting it into 10 equal amounts. When you divide a whole number by 10, all the digits move down one column. So the 5 tens go into the 5 units, the 100 goes into the 110s, and the 0 units goes into the tenths, leaving us with 15. Basically, you may have heard, if you divide by 10, take a 0 off. Well, that's okay if there's a 0 there to take off. You must remember that it's the digits that move down one column at a time when divided by 10. Because each column, when you move upwards, is 10 times bigger than the one before it, or as you move downwards, 10 times smaller. Okay, there's 10%, which is 15. Now to work out 70%, well 70% is 7 lots of 10%. Okay, I should have put that there first, sorry. So 70% is that, so we must remember that, we've got to realise that. So therefore, 70% of 150 equals 7 times our 10% answer, 150, which is 15. Oops. Which is, let's break this up, 7 times 10 is 70, 7 times 5 is 35, 70 and 35 is 105. And there we have 70%, another multiple of 10. So if we go back to the beginning and look at all those multiples of 10 we looked at, up to 90%, If you want to find 20%, we did that. You find 10% and multiply by 2, because there's 2 lots of 10. If you want to find 30%, you find 10% and multiply by 3, because 30% is 3 lots of 10%. If you want to find 40%, you find 10% and multiply by 4. 60%, find 10% and multiply by 6. We did 70%. If you want to find 80%, find 10% and multiply by 8. If you want to find 90%, find 10% and multiply by 9. There is, of course, other ways of working these out, but that's the same method for working out all these multiples of 10. Okay, for example, we could work out 90%, but by just finding 10% and taking it away from the original amount, because the original amount is equal to 100%, and 100% take away 10% will give us our 90%. So there are other ways of working this out. We could find 20%, multiply by that 4, and that'll give us 80%, because 80% is 4 lots of 20%. Okay, so you can be creative in working out certain percentages, but basically any multiple of 10%, you can use this method. Find 10% and multiply by the number of 10% that make up the percentage you are trying to find. Okay, thank you very much.